Hello, I'm reacting to what if Palpatine truly cared about Darth Vader? Hmm. Alright, from the Star Wars galaxy. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and I'll put their channel in the description below so you can check it out. Anyway, I'll let the Star Wars galaxy take over. Let's see what if Palpatine did truly care about Vader?
What if Palpatine truly cared about Darth Vader? That's our story for today. It's a fun one that I enjoyed writing, different approach than I usually
Yeah,
take, so hope you guys enjoyed. Check the pinned comment to enter the 50k subscriber giveaways, and let me know in the comments right now, what's your favorite era of Darth Vader? On screen, in comics, whatever, Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, what's your favorite iteration of Darth Vader? I'd love to know, and let's get right into this story. Our story begins in Sidious's shuttle as he is flying through hyperspace, trying to get to Mustafar to save Vader. Something terrible has happened to him, and Sidious felt it immediately. He left his fight with Yoda as quickly as he could, and now he was truly determined to find his student. Sidious couldn't believe how much he has started to truly care for Anakin. But since the day he was discovered by the Jedi, Sidious knew there was just something different about him. In fact, it was the experiments of him and Plagueis that caused the Force to retaliate and create this chosen one. So, from a certain point of view, Anakin could almost
yeah,
be like
Kenobi.
his son. And Sidious saw so much of himself in Anakin, a vulnerable boy holding so much power, just waiting to be allowed to truly use it. But today,
I'll be
he
back.
has been defeated, and
I'll talk late. Now I'm back.
Sidious wanted to help him. Today, Vader needs his master. Sidious didn't feel this way for anyone else, and he likely never would, but he wanted to rule this empire with Vader by his side. Since he left the battle with Yoda so quickly, Sidious landed to find the unconscious but dying body of Padme Amidala. Sidious did want to just run right past her and go to Vader, but he knew Vader would never forgive him if Padme died. So Sidious
Yeah.
knelt down, pouring some of his own life force into her. This was more of a light side power, and so it gave Sidious great pain to do it, but Padme would survive. He then ordered his clone troopers to load her into his ship, and he went to find Vader. As Sidious was distracted searching for Vader, a distraught Obi-Wan Kenobi snuck up to the landing platform, carving through the Coruscant Guard clones and rescuing Padme, bringing her back to her ship, and finally leaving this planet, which he would truly never forget. Eventually, Sidious would find Vader, alone, cut down by Kenobi, and in need of help. So Sidious would bring down a stretcher, trying to assure Vader it would be alright, that they would still rule together, and in time, they would take off back for Coruscant. From here, Vader and Padme would both go through intense pain across the galaxy. Padme would give birth to twins, Luke and Leia, and although she barely had the will to live, she suffered from suffocation, being dropped down on her head, and going through childbirth. Padme did survive in the end, though she would have to go through a lot of rehabilitation. She remembered Anakin, how cold he was on Mustafar, and she had to think there was still more good in him. And deep in the Coruscant medical bay, Darth Vader was rebuilt. Sidious had this armor designed to pay homage to the Sith of old, and to come off as powerful and intimidating. And Sidious also now made some newer adjustments. Initially, he'd considered the oldest models of the armor pieces, as a way to almost punish Vader for failure. But instead, Sidious knew that learning Padme was not on his side was punishment enough for Vader. So Sidious used some newer models, mainly on the limbs, and did as much as he could to reduce the upgraded limbs that Vader
I'm back. Let's continue again.
would constantly feel in the suit. But it wasn't easy. The suit would still be terrible, but Vader would be able to relearn fighting very quickly with these upgraded limbs. The suit was livable enough. Eventually, Vader would be lifted up and he would be reborn in this suit. His first question was, of course, whether or not Padme was still alive, and Sidious gave Vader some hope, saying that Padme did survive, but she was taken away by Obi-Wan Kenobi. This greatly angered Vader, but he thanked Sidious for ensuring she was still alive. In time, she would join them, but for now, Sidious would train Vader in the ways of the Sith. And while they trained, Padme Amidala, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Bail Organa, and Yoda were discussing new options. Padme would have to go into hiding because Sidious knows of the children, and it was decided that she and the children will hide on Gunga City. It was on Naboo, but the Sith would not be looking under the water. But there would have to be a fake funeral for Padme. No one can know she is alive, or else Sidious will be coming for the children. And so after a week or so, Vader was getting used to the suit much more than he expected to by this point. The limbs were starting to feel almost natural, and the helmet was adjusted, so his vision and hearing were returning to semi-normal. And as he and Sidious trained while Vader would also sit in on important Empire meetings, the two of them would soon hear about a funeral for Padme? Sidious assured Vader that this must be a distraction. She was alive. He felt it. But this offered an opportunity for a new lesson from Sidious. So the two of them would soon travel to Naboo, and they would hide inside one of the Naboo royal buildings, near the funeral. Vader wanted to be out there. He wanted to see if Padme was alive. But Sidious told Vader it was time for a new lesson. For this lesson, Sidious would teach Vader how to see without his eyes. Anakin could kind of do this, but one of Sidious's greatest powers was his ability to sense others through the Force, where they were, what they were doing, what they felt. And when Anakin went to tell the Jedi that he was a Sith, Sidious could see Windu, Fisto, Kolar, and Tin coming to kill them. He could see them through his mind. He could feel Anakin's anguish in that moment. He knew that Anakin would be coming to him. And so now, Sidious told Vader that with the right power, he can find Padme here without seeing her, as well as whoever she is working with. Sidious had Vader close his eyes and focus on what is around them. The distant waterfalls, somber music, sound of chatting outside, the warm air, birds chirping. And now Sidious had Vader focus on Padme. Memories of her, specifically those that might make him angry. Vader did this, and after a long time, he found Padme. She was alive, and not alone. Ahsoka was with her. Vader could feel them both in the Force very clearly now. This was a surprise, but Sidious said that he did good, and soon, Padme will be theirs. As the funeral concluded, Ahsoka was escorting Padme through the Naboo fields. As they were coming up to Ahsoka's ship, the fields reminded Padme of happy memories with Anakin. Before the war, the children, anything. She just wished Anakin was still with her. But moments later, a Republic starfighter, modified to fit Vader, flew across the field and blew up Ahsoka's ship. The ship turned around, and Vader would land in it, then jump to the ground with a thud. Ahsoka ignited her twin lightsabers, given to her by Obi-Wan after Order 66, and she told Padme to get behind her. Vader spoke, saying they do not need to be adversaries. The growing Empire could make use of Ahsoka's talents, and a true political leader like Padme as well. Vader removed the top of his helmet now, revealing the burned, scarred, broken face of Anakin Skywalker. Both Padme and Ahsoka stumbled backwards in pure shock, and Vader reached out a hand, asking them to join him. This is their destiny. Ahsoka tried to talk Anakin out of this, saying he can still come back, that this isn't him. But Vader didn't want this. He had power. Now, he wanted these two to join him. But instead, Ahsoka ran at Vader, sabers ignited, and tried to strike at him. She didn't want to kill him, maybe just injure and try to bring Anakin back with them. But she had to keep Padme safe as well. Vader ignited his red saber, blocking the strikes, then began a duel with his former apprentice. If she would not join him, then she must die with the Jedi Order. The two of them would duel across the plains, all the way to the edge of a cliff, where waterfalls seemingly fell forever down below. Vader was pushing Ahsoka back. His physical strength in the suit was giving him an advantage, as well as Ahsoka emotionally not wanting to fight him. But to Vader, Ahsoka was keeping Padme from him. So this would be her end. Their sabers clashed again and again. It was the only light in the Naboo plains this late at night, and Vader finally found his mark. He sliced Ahsoka's right arm off at the shoulder, then cut off her left wrist. Vader looked at her one last time, wishing she would have joined him. She should have joined him and Sidious. But instead, he used a force push to send Ahsoka flying off of the cliff, down to her death. And now Vader turned back to Padme. She had a look of pure horror on her face, and Vader asked her again to come with him. Like he said on Mustafar, they can rule the galaxy together, make things the way they want them to be. Padme was on the edge of the cliff now, crying, and she looked at Vader and said, "Then my husband is truly dead." Vader reached out a hand, saying Anakin was weak, his empire will be strong. He needs her. Padme closed her eyes, but a moment later, the Tantive 4 flew up from the side of the cliff and opened up its ramp. Vader tried to move forward, but the engines pushed him backwards. He stumbled across the ground, slowly getting up, but it was too late. The last Vader saw, Padme was being taken away by Rex and Kenobi inside of the Tantive 4. All of his former friends were betraying him. Only one person has stuck by him through everything, his master, Darth Sidious. And so Vader decided, as he watched the Tantive 4 fly away, that Sidious has been right about everything. The Jedi are evil. Padme cannot be trusted. He will overcome his love for her to see that she was trying to overthrow Palpatine. She is a rebel, and she will be treated as such.
Scum.
And so, for years, Vader would truly commit himself to the dark side, while Sidious would commit himself to building his empire, while also training Vader. Early on in his life as Chancellor, Palpatine decided that immortality was not something that the Sith can achieve. If he tries to control the Force, it will find a way to destroy him. So perhaps it is better to set up the Sith for success throughout his life. Instead of creating the Inquisitors, Vader was all that would be needed to deal with these rogue Jedi. Because Sidious wasn't focused on immortality, he would actually help Vader find these Jedi, and together they would seek them out and destroy them. In one instance, the Sith found former council member Oppo Rancis, and as the old Jedi Master fought Vader, it felt like a training duel. Sidious was yelling instructions to Vader, teaching him how to fight as a Sith, and twice during the fight, Vader would back off, let Oppo recover, just so he could try a new method of fighting on the Jedi. Oppo would eventually die to a heavy strike, and this was the fate of so many Jedi. In some of these encounters, Sidious would teach Vader to focus on his anger, but also the fear of those he was fighting. Vader would learn to harness his anger into true balanced power, rather than being unstable, like he was versus Obi-Wan. It was his power, his arrogance that got him almost killed. And Vader mastered using fear against the Jedi. He became extremely strong, almost matching Sidious, but that would likely be impossible because of the suit. One of the more excruciating parts of the training was Sidious taking Vader back into the Jedi Temple, walking through the halls, forcing Vader to remember and describe the slaughter of the Jedi in these halls. Sidious would demand that Vader tell him what happened in exact detail. He would make Vader feel and remember each kill, every moment, and every step during the attack on the temple. This was done in order to completely sever Vader's personal connection to the Jedi. Sidious was using his apprentice's hate, anger, sadness, and desperation to survive and gain power to destroy any remnants of Anakin Skywalker, and have only Vader remain, create a true Sith in Vader. The duo would go through years of training together, and eventually, Sidious was so sure that Skywalker was gone once and for all. The two of them would grow in power together, and a true connection of master and apprentice was formed. Vader was eternally grateful to Sidious, as everyone else in his life abandoned him. Through the years, rebellions would rise and fall at their hand, but 15 years after the rise of the Empire, there was one true rebellion that had formed, and its power threatened the Empire. In conferences with other leaders of the Empire, Palpatine and Vader made it known that the rebellion was far too spread out to truly get a hold on them. Their leaders never really emerged, so over time, Vader and Palpatine would put a risky plan into place. Allow this rebellion to grow in strength, make them think they have power and victory in their grasp, then crush them once they have finally gathered in one concentrated place. Vader and Palpatine would guide the Empire into battles on Mon Cala, Kessel, Ringovinda, and other planets, and they would allow the rebellion to have victory. The combined plan of Sidious and Vader working together was going very well, though they were suffering heavy but necessary losses. And after some time, they would leak information to rebel spies, saying that Palpatine and Vader were gathering on the planet Avaram to gather the plans of the Death Star. This was not true, but the rebellion would hear of this, and in their string of victories, they decided that they must throw everything they have to Avaram, destroy Vader and Palpatine, find the Death Star plans, bring down the Empire. This rebellion was led by Padme and Obi-Wan, among many other leaders. Luke and Leia were now around 15 years old, and they've been training largely under the guidance of Obi-Wan and former Grandmaster Yoda. The rebellion had sought out other Jedi, but Vader and Sidious were ruthless in their hunt to defeat them, so many Jedi were either hiding or dead. They'd stayed hidden up to this point, but now it seemed the time to reveal themselves was right. Rumors were swirling that both Vader and Palpatine were traveling to Avaram together in order to analyze the plans for the Death Star, the rumored battle station of the Empire. The rebellion knew that if they could just get to Avaram, then perhaps they could finally take down Vader and Palpatine, and ensure that these plans to the Death Star get in their hands. The rebel fleet, composed largely of Mon Cala cruisers, would soon take off for Avaram.
I wonder, what would the Rebel Alliance do with the Death Star plans? Like, would they make their own Death Star? Or just scrap the plans, or like reorganize it for their own good? Like, what would the rebels do with the Death Star plans? Right?
Fleet was a very important faction of this rebellion, with leaders like Akbar, Radis, Bail Organa, Rex, Andor, and others going. This was their chance. The fleet would soon emerge from hyperspace, engaging an unsuspecting Imperial blockade above the planet. A group of landing crafts would fly out of rebel hangars and descend down to the grassy planet. The 5 landing transports would land, 4 of them carrying rebel soldiers, and the final one carrying Obi-Wan, Yoda, Padme, Luke, and Leia. The soldiers were to distract the Imperials and allow the Jedi to find the Sith. Initially, the rebel soldiers were thrown off by how strong the Imperial presence on the ground was. It was said by the spies that it would be just Vader, Palpatine, and an Imperial escort, but instead, as groups of rebel soldiers entered different rooms or areas, they were quickly shot down or forced to retreat. And as the group of Jedi and Padme ran into the main room of the Imperial base, Obi-Wan and Padme listened in to their comms, and they could only hear the screams and retreat calls of the rebels. It was getting overwhelming, but suddenly communications were cut off, and the doors behind them were sealed shut. The air was silent until the sound of robotic breathing filled the room, and deep inside the room, 2 crimson lightsabers ignited. Now, the Jedi and Padme were realizing what happened. They became too overconfident in the rebellion, too desperate, and they walked their troops right into a trap. And for the first time in roughly 15 years, Padme, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Luke, and Leia were back with Vader. But as Vader emerged from the shadows, he was a new man from the man that Padme left on Naboo after Vader killed Ahsoka. Thanks to the training of Sidious, Vader has become more powerful, and the man that Anakin Skywalker once was is dead. Nothing more than a distant memory. And every day, Vader has had to practice patience as he waited for this moment. He would finally kill the only remaining remnants of Skywalker. That name would die today. And Vader moved forward, charging at Kenobi and the children, while Yoda and Sidious would rematch their fight from the Senate. Vader's blade clashed against Obi-Wan's in a blend of strong strikes and parries. It was their first duel since Mustafar, and both of them were completely different. Vader was pushing Obi-Wan back towards the wall, overwhelming him with his years of training as a true Sith Lord. But now Vader had to defend, as Anakin's 2 children moved in on him. Luke swung at Vader with power, his green saber moving through the air with anger, as he was meeting his father for the first time, or at least the man that used to be his father. Vader was blocking Obi-Wan, Luke, and Leia, and he tried goading Luke into joining him, saying that only his anger will give him the necessary strength to bring him down. Leia Organa supported her brother, her blue saber meeting in between Luke and Vader, as she told him not to listen. And Vader would slam his fist into the ground, causing all 3 of them to crash into a wall. Amidst this chaos, Sidious faced off against Yoda, and Sidious taunted Yoda, saying he was right all those years ago. Lord Vader has become stronger than he knows. Yoda knew he must bring down the Sith today, as it may be his final chance. Their battle transcended the need for sabers, with the energies of the Force itself swirling around them. Lightning crackled from Sidious's fingertips, while Yoda countered with agility, catching it, throwing it back at the Dark Lord. And within the confines of this base, the clash of sabers, the sounds of electricity filled everyone's ears. But the Sith duo had been training for this day for years. Vader moved back in on the Jedi, and after a few strong strikes with Leia, he pushed her saber into her own chest, then swung, cutting her in half. Vader pulled her blue saber to his own hand, as Obi-Wan screamed in horror. Padme was in the back of the room. She fired a shot at Vader in anger, but Vader simply caught the blast, throwing it back at Padme. It hit her in the gut, and she fell to the ground. Now Vader fought Obi-Wan again, this time with a red and blue saber. Kenobi swung at Vader and was blocked. Then he tried spinning, but was blocked again. And now as Vader fought, Vader could feel Luke flying at him from behind. So Vader spun. Force pushed Luke so hard into the wall that he nearly went through it, going unconscious. Then he blocked Kenobi's strike from behind him with the blue saber, while stabbing Obi-Wan through the chest with the red saber. Vader then looked to Sidious and Yoda, as Yoda had Sidious slammed to the ground. Kenobi and Leia were dead. Luke was unconscious. The Jedi Grand Master, though, was going to kill Sidious. Vader could not let this happen, so he threw both sabers at Yoda, and they both cut through the distracted Grand Master, ending his life once and for all. The room went quiet, and through the sky window, Sidious and Vader watched as their true Imperial attack fleet emerged behind the rebellion, catching them off guard. The Sith planned all of this, and now a fleet 3 times the size of the Rebel one was ripping the rebellion to shreds. It was a massacre in space, as rebellion cruisers were exploding, one by one. Sidious was breathing heavily after his fight with Yoda. He was weakened, and Vader looked down on him. Sidious laughed, then coughed, saying that this is only the beginning of the Empire. No one can stop the Sith from ruling the galaxy. And as Vader looked down on him, he knew now that he was a true Sith Master. Sidious trained him to kill every remnant of the Skywalker name, and Sidious made him into a true Sith Master. And now, only one step remained on his path of being a Sith. As Sidious looked up at the rebellion being torn apart, he heard Vader's lightsaber ignite behind him, and the last thing he ever thought was, the treachery of the Sith never fails. So be it. And Vader sliced his head off, as Sidious was actually proud of the student that he raised and trained to be his heir to the Empire. From here, Vader would walk up to Padme, struggling to stay alive, lifting her into the air, choking her, showing her the death of the rebellion. Vader looked at her and told her that hope dies today, snapping her neck. He would then have the unconscious Luke Skywalker brought on to his ship. Vader would take over the Empire, continuing Sidious's rule. Luke would be tortured until he either gave in to the dark side or dies, and eventually Vader would have Luke join him, showing the power they can share. Luke would not be a Skywalker. Instead, he would be called Darth Starkiller, as he and his father would rule the Empire for many years. As master and apprentice, Luke became completely corrupted. For decades, new rebellions would rise and fall, as the Death Star would soon be deployed on any rebelling planet. Rebellions would soon quell completely out of fear of their planets being blown up. Vader's empire would rule until Luke eventually grew strong enough to kill him, and the Sith would rule the galaxy under the rule of 2 for as long as anyone can remember. Apprentice killing master, training new apprentice, getting killed, so on forever, thanks to Sidious and Vader creating this empire. And that is our story for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I felt like it was a really different approach to what Sidious and Vader are usually like. Usually it's just Sidious kind of making fun of Vader, not liking him. But I wanted to go through the path of him actually training and, wanting to carry on his Imperial line with Vader. It ultimately leads up to Vader betraying and killing Sidious after a battle where Vader sees he has become older and weakened, and Sidious kind of acknowledging that's just the way of the rule of 2. So I hope you guys did enjoy that. Appreciate you guys checking this out. And huge shout out for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
Nice to hear that video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I'll put the channel in the description below so you can check it out yourself. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye for now. And let's get to 2K subs. I believe we can do it. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.